Hey everybody, it's Greg Rice from Nexus Property Management, and we're here today in East Greenwich, Rhode Island, and we're with Mr. Josh Hennessy, who is co-owner of Hennessy Property Management and also a real estate investor. And we're going to talk about the two bills now in the House and Senate in Rhode Island that is going to stop all evictions as well as termination of tenancies. So Josh, you've been involved with real estate for quite a while now.
Yes.
What did you think when you saw this bill, or these bills rather?
It's honestly shocking. I think, and other people that depend on this stuff for their livelihood feel the same way. I don't understand. I feel like common sense has completely gone out the window. It's really scary. We're a small company and a smallish landlord, and we've devoted our lives to trying to make something, and it's for our families, and it's our, there's no backup plan. This is we provide housing and simultaneously build something for our children and our kids. It's our college. It's our plan for college. It's everything. So it's really scary. I'm glad you're doing this. So thank you for coming.
Absolutely.
Because it needs to be talked about.
What do you think is a compromise? Okay, we're worried. We're landlords.
Yeah.
What do you think can be done that helps both us and the tenants alike?
I just think it's possible to have compassion and common sense at the same time. So we understand that times are not great for people. A compromise to me is trying to improve assistance programs, improve communication between the landlord and tenant. When people go dark and say, F you, I'm not paying, it's we have no choice. What are we supposed to do? It's something that we worked for, saved for, to purchase, we own, and it doesn't work if there's no rent.
Right.
If it doesn't work, the ripple effect is like devastating. So, we have no choice. When tenants communicate with us and we work something out, that's fine. We don't want to be in court. You don't want to be in court.
Right. Yeah.
But the whole system does not work without the rent payment.
Right.
So I think the compromise is let's focus on improving the assistance programs. Let's make it more targeted. Let's make sure the money and assistance is going to people who need it, who really need it. It should not be a way of life for people, in my opinion. It's awesome that we live in a country and state that will help people that really need it, but let's make sure that people really need it.
True.
And that's, I don't know, that's what I feel about it.
One thing that we've noticed is that the assistance programs require dual cooperation, so the tenant and the landlord or the property manager must both be on the same page to get something through. But what happens if a tenant is not cooperating? Now the landlord is up the creek. So what we've suggested, if it does come to eviction, which we don't want it to,
Right.
if it does come to eviction, the check should be written at court. Okay, so the tenant's getting evicted, they owe the guy $6,000 for past due rent. Check is written right there, the case is dismissed.
Right.
It's not on the tenant's record, and the landlord is paid.
Right.
Now they're trying to, do all this on the front end, and it gets super sloppy.
Right. Absolutely. I think a tenant obviously doesn't want it on their record. And we don't want to go through with it, but it's not. I just feel like there's this general sense of like the big bad landlord, and you mentioned that the typical landlord owns 3 to 6 units, and it's a small investor that, rather than have their money in the stock market, it's something that is very important to their future,
right,
and their family. They need to get the rent. So I think there's this like misconception that the landlords will be fine.
Right.
And if most landlords are good people that are providing safe, clean housing.
Yep.
And you're providing a necessary service, because the government can't house everybody.
Right.
Like we need small landlords.
Yes.
To like this, none of this works without the small landlord. So to risk the small landlord getting caught holding the bag is insane to me.
Yep.
It really is. I don't understand.
And do you think that the banks are worried about this?
Yes, and I think that I was saying before, I have faith that our legislature has enough common sense that this is not going to happen, or that there'll be a compromise. Banks probably should be worried.
Yeah.
If I'm a banker, and I mean, we apply for these loans based on the projected rental income and expenses. If this guy applying has his expenses, but there's no guarantee of the income, why would I lend him the money?
Yeah.
Not only that, if I'm not allowed to foreclose, which is the concession that this bill is trying to give to the landlords, it doesn't even make sense.
Thank you.
Yeah, so the banker's not okay. So I'll lend him this money. He doesn't know if he's getting his rent, and if it goes bad, I can't foreclose for an indefinite amount of time. No, thank you. Go somewhere else. And then if you can't borrow money to buy property, I mean, we could go on and we could go really deep into that, but the ripple effect is awful.
Then the bank's not making money because
Right.
they're not giving loans. It's like it's further than just helping the tenant. It's like you're distressing an entire sector of the economy, probably the biggest sector.
Right. So let's hypothetically go there for a second. So the banks are now not up because I believe that most banks see multifamily as a safe investment for the bank.
Yep.
People need a place to live. It's a vital function of our society, and most people pay their rent now, as it is. Even now, people are struggling. People are still paying their rent. They're making it work. 'Cause most people are good people that understand their obligations and understand that, it's not. Like the landlord is not some like big corporation or idea that's unaffected and can just brush it off.
Right.
Like there's consequences for everybody. So the banks are affected. In the property management business, our employees are affected. How am I going to spend money to properly maintain the property if I don't have any from rent? So now the properties the value goes down. They're poorly maintained. So what does that do to a neighborhood? And what does it do to our contractors, our landscapers, all the people that we pay to help us? Maintain our business or maintain the properties. It's just devastating. It's a nuclear bomb to me, this bill.
Yeah.
And I actually can't believe that we're considering it.
And what about our firemen, our police officers, our school teachers? They're all paid from our property taxes.
Exactly.
So if we're not paying our taxes, or like you mentioned, our property goes to shit.
Right.
And the value goes down. Now the assessed value goes down across the entire city or town. Now your tax revenue is less.
Right.
Meaning cuts, or you can't pay people as much. And if you look in Woonsocket, for example, they notoriously have issues hiring people to work for the Public Works Department, for example, because they can't pay them enough.
Right. You can't get good people.
You
Right.
can't get good people.
Right.
So you're seeing vacancies in like the planning board in Woonsocket. Their planning department has no head
Right.
because
Right.
they're like, we'll pay you
Can't
$60,000.
Can't afford it. Yeah.
So you come to that point, and that's a very small microcosm. That's 35,000 people in Woonsocket, and they can't hire people. What
Right.
if Providence faces something like that?
Exactly. Providence, Pawtucket. I mean.
So it's far-reaching,
Yeah.
and I don't think that the benefit is even close to what this bill is intended for. I mean, we want to preserve tenancies.
Right. Yeah.
At what cost?
Right. And there has to be some level of personal responsibility for everybody. I believe that we have like a great supportive society, and I think in general people are compassionate and do not wish ill. But like, people have to be responsible for, if you sign a lease, like it means something. It's a contract. If you can't pay it, you can't sign it.
Right.
It's like anything else. I mean, what's next? If that doesn't mean anything, you know what I mean?
Mortgages, maybe.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Right.
I get it.
Yeah, exactly. And I just think it's a horrible path. I think it's a horrible message for people in general. I don't think we can say that that's okay. We can work together, like you said, if there's a compromise, or some people really do need help in certain moments in time. And the assistant programs and the intentions are good. I don't think the reps and senators proposing the bill are doing it from a bad place.
Right.
I just think it's just really misguided, and it's not the way. I'm all for on how to improve assistance programs. Let's look at that. Let's make sure that people need help, that they get it, and they get it for the amount of time that they need it, not their whole
Correct.
life.
Correct.
It's just not how people should. That's not the way it should work.
Yeah.
Like, the rest of the society should not pay for somebody who, gets the government, and the government is the people. So taxpayers paying their rent forever.
Mm-hmm. And then their children.
Right. That are capable people that can get a job, or do, in a lot of cases, have a job.
Correct.
But they're like, well, I'm not going to tell the government to stop paying my rent, even though I don't need it anymore.
Yep.
We need to clean that part up.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I talked to a woman at Woonsocket Housing who I won't name, but she was a very long-standing employee there, and she said, Greg, this program, this Section 8 program, needs to be totally revamped.
Right.
And she told me that, like, just, we were signing papers for a tenant, and she goes, it's a legacy for people.
Yeah.
They do it, their children
Right.
do it, their children do it, and that's not what it was intended for. It's meant to give you a booster.
Yeah.
Training wheels.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's a lot of fat, even in general, before COVID. And now you
Absolutely.
add something like this to the mix.
Yeah. To me, that's the answer, and it's never going to be perfect. And people, there's going to be inefficiencies, and we're going to get lost. But we can't just say, oh, like Section 8's working, so that's doing its job. Now we have to take some other drastic measure.
Correct.
Even with all the stimulus packages, and people are concerned, and the government is concerned, rightfully so, with trying to help people who need it. But we are not very good at getting money only to people who need it. Like, there's just so energy, time, money, resources. Let's look at that. Don't let small landlords get caught in the middle.
Right.
It doesn't. It's not these like aristocratic
Right.
royals that own these properties and it doesn't matter if they collect the rent or not. It's people's livelihood, and again, we need safe, affordable housing, and the government can't do it. They're not very good at it,
Right.
even when they try.
Right.
So,
Right.
we need private landlords, and nobody will want to be a private landlord
Correct.
if people aren't obligated to pay their rent. It just doesn't work.
And most importantly, it's already been a year of suffering.
Right.
These small landlords have already endured
Right.
1 year of, moratoriums, no evictions, no rent payments. This is like, I could see this coming on a year ago
Exactly.
and making some sense.
It's almost over.
Right.
What are we doing now?
Right. Now it's like a year of struggling. Let's make it worse.
Right.
Or
Right.
what else can we do to prolong this?
Right.
So it just gets a little cloudy. And you at home, thank you for listening. We can go on for days.
We could
about
keep
this.
going. Yes.
But if you have any
Thanks.
questions for me or for Josh, throw them in the comments section below. We'll get right back to you. And Josh, before we go, is there anything else? Anything you want to say to lawmakers or to the general public? What's your final message?
The message for me is I understand that the intention is good. It's the wrong thing to do. It's not the right place to focus our energy or resources. And let's improve and make the assistance programs more efficient. Telling people they don't have to pay rent is not the answer.
Well said.
Yeah.
Thanks for your
Greg.
time, brother.
Thank you for coming.
And once again, Greg Rice here in East Greenwich. Some people say East Greenwich.
Greenwich, I think.
Greenwich.
I'm from Massachusetts, so I don't. I just go with the flow here.
East Greenwich, Rhode Island. Your property managed.